Hello guys, this is Rahul, and in today's session we are going to talk about how to set up Kubernetes cluster on Ubuntu. I have covered the same session, but that time I have used the Ubuntu version 18.04, and today we are going to perform the same setup on latest version of Ubuntu, that is 21.04. So this is just an upgrade from my previous session. But if you are new and you're trying to set up the Kubernetes cluster for the first time, then you don't need to follow the previous lab session. You can just perform all the steps which I'm going to show to you, and these steps are going to be from the scratch. So you can set up the complete Kubernetes cluster on Ubuntu 21.04 following this lab session. Along with this lab session, I'm going to share you a guide, and you can find the link of this guide into the description section. So feel free to use this guide, and all the steps which I'm going to perform in this lab session will be available into this guide. Alright, so you might be wondering, like, why do we need to set up our Kubernetes cluster on our local development machine, although we have AWS and Google Cloud services where we can use their predefined Kubernetes cluster and we don't need to do all the steps manually. So to answer that, because we need to pay the prices if you are using the AWS or Google Cloud services, although they have 12-month trial period, but once those 12-month trial period expires, then they will be charging you for the services. And Kubernetes cluster is a heavy resource, so it is going to consume a lot of CPU and memory. So it is going to charge you more. So that's why I always recommend you to set up your own Kubernetes cluster on your development machine. And once you're done with your practices, you can just destroy those virtual machines and you don't need to pay any prices. The second reason why I'm recommending is because we are a developer and we make mistakes. So if you are trying to use AWS or Google Cloud services, there are many services which are running under the hood. And if you're going to set up your Kubernetes cluster using virtual machine on your development laptop or desktop, then you're going to perform every step from the scratch. So you will know like what you have done and what are the mistakes you have made. So you can rectify those mistakes, and if anything goes wrong, you can just simply destroy everything and you will lose nothing. You can just start everything from the scratch again and you can rectify those mistakes. So that is my second reason why I recommend setting up your Kubernetes cluster on your local development machine. All right, let's head back to our lab session and I'll start sharing my screen. All right, to begin with, on the right hand side, you can see this is the guide which I have prepared. And on the left hand side, this is a terminal which we are going to use to set up our Kubernetes cluster. So I'll put the link of this guide into the description section. So here you can see all the commands which I have prepared, and this is going to be a long guide, so you can find all the command over here. One more thing before we begin, since we are setting up everything on a virtual machine, so this is going to be our virtual machine setup. And here you can see this is the Vagrant file. So I'm going to use the Vagrant for setting up my Kubernetes cluster. So what is Vagrant? Vagrant is simply a virtual machine provisioning tool. You can simply install Vagrant, and once you install the Vagrant, you just simply need to create this Vagrant file. And in this Vagrant file, we are going to define how many virtual machines which we need. So here I'm going to define we need one master machine with 2 gigs of memory and 2 CPU. And similarly, we are going to define a worker node with 2 gigs of memory and 2 CPU. So this is the simple Vagrant machine which we need. And along with that, you also need to mention which operating system you are going to use. So here I'm going to use the Ubuntu 21.04. So that's the name you need to provide. Secondly, here also on a worker node, we are going to use the same, and that is 21.04. Okay. And apart from that, you also need to provide your IP address range. So here I'm assigning the IP address 100.0.1 and the worker node should be 100.0.2. But IP range, it's up to you what IP range you want to provide. So you can assign any IP range of your choice. Okay. And this master and the worker, these are my own name which I have given to it. So you can define any or you can put any name of your choice over here. So this is going to be my Vagrant file. Okay, so the step number 1, I'm assuming that you have already installed Vagrant and you have created a Vagrant file using this guide. Here you can see the same instructions I have mentioned over here. So you just simply copy all this instruction into your Vagrant file. And you need to save this Vagrant file with the name like this, with the V in uppercase and after that Vagrant file. So the Vagrant file doesn't need any extension. It just simply need the name. The name of the file should be this. Okay. So I'm assuming that you have created a Vagrant file and you have already installed the Vagrant on your machine based on your operating system. And once you install it, just go back to your terminal and just check the same Vagrant file it is available over there or not. So this is the Vagrant file which is available for me. I can again verify the content whether I'm using the same or not. So here you can see it is the same configuration which I have mentioned. Okay, so the first thing which you need to do is you need to start your virtual machine. So once you install the Vagrant, then it's the so to start the virtual machine is pretty simple. You simply need to type in the command Vagrant up and it will start your virtual machine. If you are setting up the virtual machine for the first time, then it's gonna take some time because it is going to download that virtual box onto your local system and then it is going to spin up. So I'll be back once this download and up part is done and my virtual machines are up and running. So I'll be back once everything is up and running. Okay, so now I can see my virtual machine is up and ready, and this is the machine. This is the message actually which I got. So that means our machines are ready. I'll clear the screen. Now we need to go to the step number 2 and we need to log in into our Vagrant machine. So the first command is Vagrant SSH master. So first of all, we are going to log in into our master machine, the master node, and secondly, we are going to log in into the worker node. Okay, so these are the command for logging into your Vagrant machine. So I'm just gonna copy this command, and here I have splitted my terminal into 2 parts. So first, the upper part I'm going to use for master. So this is the command for master I have executed. So first terminal we are going to use for master, and this is for worker. So I'm going to copy this command and paste it over here. And as you can see on the top, I logged in into my master machine. I'll clear it. And similarly, I logged in into my worker node. So I'll clear this one also. Okay. All right. So the next step is we need to update our host entries so that both master and worker node can communicate with each other, because they are already in the same network, but it would be really nice to add those host entry into for both master as well as worker. So I'm going to edit the host file in both the node. I'm just going to paste the command. Okay, so I'm just paste it anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to hit enter. I'll just copy from here for the same command, and I'm just going to paste it into the worker node also, and just hit enter. Okay, I'm just going to go into the edit mode. And yeah, this is simply a VI editor, you might already know, and you need to copy these entries. So here I'm just going to copy this entry. The entries are pretty simple. It's just the IP address which we have assigned into our Vagrant file along with our host name, that is master and worker. Okay, so once you put those entries, just save and quit. And similarly over here, go into edit mode and save and quit. All right. So now we can see our master and worker node are up, and we logged in into it, and we updated the host entries. Okay. To verify this setup of host file, one thing which you can do is you can ping the worker from here, and as you can see, the ping is successful. And similarly, you can ping the master node from the worker machine. So you can just simply type ping master, and it should ping the master node. Okay, so our both virtual machine is up and running, and our host entries are successful. Moving to the step number 3, we need to install Docker on both master as well as worker node, as you can see in the guide. And since Kubernetes is an orchestration tool for Docker, so we need to install Docker on both the machines. So first of all, we are going to update the package manager. So I'm just going to copy this command and paste it over here and hit enter. I'm going to perform all the steps on both the nodes. So just be careful, like on which node you are doing. So just try to perform the same step on both the node when I'm saying you need to perform both the steps on both the node. Okay, so the master is done, and it will be soon done for worker also. So this command is just simply telling virtual machine to update their package manager and nothing else. Okay, so this is the next command for installing our Docker. So I'm just going to copy it. I'm just going to paste it and hit enter. And similarly, I'm going to do for worker node over here also. So hit enter. Simply type yes. Type yes. And it might take some time. All right, so now Docker has been installed on both master as well as worker. The next thing which we are going to do, we are going to enable the Docker on master as well as worker. So I'm just going to copy this command to enable the Docker. And remember, I'm running all the command with the sudo. Okay, that's been done. I'm just going to perform the same step on the Docker worker node also, and that's been done. Okay, after that, once you enable the Docker, you need to start your Docker machine. So this is the next command for starting your Docker. So I'm just going to paste it over here and hit enter, and same I'm going to perform on the worker nodes, hit enter. Okay, so now we have installed the Docker, we have enabled the Docker, and after that we have started the Docker. The next thing, we need to verify whether our Docker has been installed and Docker services are running or not. So for that, the command is systemctl status docker, and again we need to run it with the sudo. Okay, I'm just gonna paste, hit enter, and here you can see the status is active and running and it's green. That means our Docker has been installed successfully. I'll quit it. I'm just gonna verify the same thing on my worker node and hit enter, and here you can see the same message, active and running, and that is showing green. So that means our Docker has been installed successfully. Okay, I'm just gonna hit Control C. Moving to the step number 4, the next thing which we need to do is we need to disable the firewall, because our master and the worker node are into the same network, and we just don't want to put any firewall which can stop the communication between the master as well as the worker node. And secondly, we need to disable the swipe off. Okay, so these are the command for that. I'm just gonna copy the command for disabling the firewall, and you need to execute this command on both the nodes, master as well as worker. So I'm just gonna paste it over here, hit enter, and the same on a worker node also, hit enter. Similarly, I'm just gonna disable the swap. So I'm just gonna copy, paste, enter. Same I'm just going to perform on the worker node, enter. Okay, next, step number 5, we need to install apt-transport-https package that is needed for installing your Kubernetes. So this is the command for installing apt-transport-https package. So copy this command from here, clear the screen here as well as here also, paste the command over here and hit enter. Similarly here in the worker node also, hit enter. Okay, so that's been done on both the nodes. I'll clear it and I'll clear here also. Okay, the next thing is we need to download the public key, and the public key is from the Google Cloud, because Kubernetes is the tool provided by the Google. So we need to download this public keys for setting up our Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this command from here, and again we need to run on both master as well as the worker node. So hit enter. Similarly here, hit enter, and always remember, look for this message okay. If the message is something else, then there might be some problem with this step. So here I can see both are okay, so that means we are able to download the public key successfully. Okay, moving to the step number 7, we need to add the Kubernetes repo to both our master as well as worker node. So this is the command for adding the Kubernetes repo into our Ubuntu machines, that is master as well as worker. So I'm just gonna paste, and similarly over here in the worker node, hit enter. Okay, and after that, the step number 8, in this command we are actually going to install the Kubernetes. Okay, so I'll clear the screen over here in the master as well as worker. I'm just going to copy this command from here and paste it over here, first of all in my master node and then into my worker node. Okay, so now my Kubernetes installation has been done on master as well as worker node. It might take a minute or couple of minutes based on your internet speed. But once it's done, then you will see similar message on your terminal. Okay, moving to the step number 9, we need to enable and start kubelet. So this is the command for enable and start kubelet. We are going to run both the command one by one. And again, we are going to run it for both master as well as worker. So I'm just going to paste it over here, hit enter. Same I'm going to do over here for worker, hit enter, and after that we are going to start the kubelet on both master as well as worker node, hit enter, done, and similarly over here also. Okay, so now we have enable and started the kubelet. Moving to the step number 10, this is a step we need to be a little careful, because we are going to run one of the command only on master node. Okay, So here we are going to start or initialize our Kubernetes cluster, and Kubernetes initialization is only done from a master node. So this command is specifically we are going to run on our master node. So the command is kubeadm, that is kubeadmin, init, and then the API advertise address, that's our master node API address. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this command and paste it into only the master node, not into the worker node. Okay, hit enter. It might take some time to install the Kubernetes, and it might take some time to finish this kubeadm init command. So once the command has finished, so you will see a command which is like into your console, that is kubeadmin join. So this is the command which we are going to use into the later step from our worker node, so that our worker node can communicate with our master node. So this is the command which you need to note, and this command will be different for each operating system or each virtual machine, because it is going to generate an SHA hash code, and that will be different. Okay, so just copy this command and store it somewhere. Okay, and we are going to use this command in the later steps. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a new file over here and paste it over here. Okay, so this is the kube join command which we are going to use in the later steps. Moving further to the step number 11, we need to move the kube config file. We have installed the Kubernetes, and once you install the Kubernetes, then you will get a .kube file inside your master node. So I'll clear the screen over here onto my terminal. I'm just gonna run this command on my master node, and be careful, I'm just saying run it only on master node, don't run on a worker node, otherwise you might face some issues. Okay, so I'm just gonna paste it over here and hit enter. Similarly, I'm just gonna copy this command. These are simple copy command, and these are just trying to move the adm.conf into this .kube config directory. Okay, paste it over here and hit enter, and then we are going to change the owner permission over here. I'll just copy and paste it over here, and that's been done. All right, so now the next step, this is step number 12. This is a little special step, and before we jump into this step, I would like to tell you one thing. Master and worker node communicate with each other, but in Kubernetes world, we need to enable this, and this configuration can be enabled with a flannel network. Okay, so flannel is a different service which Kubernetes use internally to communicate between master and the worker node. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many master or worker node you are having, but we need to use this kind of a networking. All right, so we are going to use flannel. There are so many other provider also, but I have tried with the flannel and it works. You can try with Calico also. Calico is another CNI for Kubernetes. You can try Calico also, but all works pretty much same. Okay, so first of all, we are going to download it, and this is the command wget, and you can just simply copy it. And in case if this URL doesn't work, then just go and check their official GitHub repo, and where you can find the link. I just copied it from here, so you can find it from here also, if in case it doesn't work for you. But I hope it will work, because this is the standard installation package which they provide. I'm just going to copy, and remember, I'm running it only on a master node. I'm just going to paste it over here. Okay, I'll clear the screen and you can verify it. So here, kube flannel.yaml. So this is the YAML which we need, and I have just downloaded it. Okay, there is one step which I forget to mention over here in the guide. We need to apply this YAML configuration. Okay, we have downloaded it, but I forgot to mention in my guide. I'll update the guide later, but the command for that is kubectl apply -f. So this is the command which you need to run. Okay, so I can type it over here, kubectl apply -f, and after that you need to supply the YAML, okay, which we have already downloaded. So the file name is kubeflannel.yaml. So this is the next step which you need to do. I'll update this guide once I finish this session. So simply just hit enter. Okay, and this kubeflannel configuration has been applied to your master node. All right, so now moving to the step number 13, and this step is going to be performed on a worker node. Now we are done with our master node setup, and the next command which we are going to run on a worker node. Okay, and remember in the step number, I think it's 10th, where I told you to store this command, and this is the command which I told you to store. So this is the command which I have stored it. So this is the join command, and we are trying to join our worker node to the master node. Okay, so we are going to use this command to for the joining purpose. Okay, but before we join, I would like you to recommend to remove this new line thing from here and make it this command in a single line, because I have faced some issues working with this command when I issued this command. Okay, so just delete it so that everything comes into single line. Okay, so I removed the spaces from here, and similarly over here also. Okay, so I think that's done, and just copy this command from here. And also one more thing, you need to put sudo. Actually, you cannot run without sudo. So that's the one more thing which you need to remember, because once you get this command, it doesn't come with a sudo. Okay, so you need to add sudo over here. Okay, remember, add sudo and remove the new line characters from the command and make it as a single line command. That will be really useful for you. Okay, so copy this, go back to your terminal, that should be over here, and go to your worker node and just paste this command over here and hit enter. Okay, so my kube join command has finished successfully. Okay, so the next step is, and this is going to be our final step, where we are going to verify our nodes, and the command for that is kubectl get node. So you can go back to your master node. I'll clear the master node console over here, and you can just simply run the command kubectl get nodes and hit enter. Okay, so here you can see this is my master node, this is my worker node, and both are in ready state. And here you can see, and the roles are control plane master, yeah, because this is the master node which we have assigned as a master role, and this is my worker node. And here you can see it just started 43 seconds ago. That means after we issued the command kube adm join, it got added to our master node, and it is able to communicate with master node. Okay, so yeah, this is the final step for setting up your Kubernetes cluster, and now your Kubernetes cluster is up and running. All right, so now you have set up your Kubernetes cluster on your Ubuntu virtual machine, and everything we have done using the virtual machine. So what's the next step? So now you can play around with kubectl command, and you can deploy, and you can create some services, and you can just play around with your Kubernetes cluster. That's just what I want to say. So what's next after that? So as you know, we have around 14 steps, which we have did it manually to set up our Kubernetes cluster. But the next step would be from here to automate these steps. Okay, so what we need to do for automation? So there is a framework called kubespray that is a tool for setting up the Kubernetes cluster. But that is a little bit of automation that use Ansibles internally. And using the kubespray, you can set up your Kubernetes cluster, and you don't need to do all these 14 manual steps. So along with this guide, I'm going to share the kubespray session, which I have already prepared along with this guide also. And I'll put the link of that lab session somewhere here, or also into the description section. So you can just go to that. That would be the next step I would recommend you to go, because then you will have a better idea, like you have set up your Kubernetes cluster by your own, and then you have used the automation framework to set up your Kubernetes cluster that is using kubespray. And then I would recommend you to deploy any of your application, create some kubectl deployment, or create some services. I have some separate sessions for those also. I have used a Spring Boot application for performing those kind of a setup. And in that Spring Boot application, I have just created a Hello World example. So that is the bare minimal deployment example I have taken. So that is also a good step if you want to learn like how to deploy your application inside your Kubernetes cluster. So yeah, so what are the next steps? Either you can go for kubespray for automating your Kubernetes cluster setup, and once you're done with it, then just try to deploy something. And if you need any help with that, then just follow that session. I'll put that session also, where I have shown like how to deploy your first application. I have used Spring Boot application, but you can use any of your application. The only thing is you need to have a Docker container for that. just and deploy inside your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so follow those sessions either on Kubespray or deploying Spring Boot application on Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so I hope you liked the today's session on setting up Kubernetes cluster, and if you are interested into the similar session where you go step by step, then please do follow this channel. I have the similar session on Terraform, Helm chart, where I have shown like how you can set up the similar things using those frameworks. And those are really good session if you want to learn DevOps. So I'll put the a link of those lab session into this description section also, along with the guides, because I generally prefer to prepare some guides along with the lab session, so it's really easy to understand those concepts and you don't need to remember everything. So go check out, and please do let me know what you like about this lab session into the comment section, and also if you face any issues regarding those lab session. So see you into the next session with some more interesting topic. Till then, bye bye.